So these are the notes of antiderivatives that you guys are going to take care of yourself because of the inevitable snow days that we're going to have. So to start off, a function big f of x, so you say this here as big f of x, is an antiderivative of a function f of x if the derivative of big f of x is equal to f of x. So it's an antiderivative if the derivative of the antiderivative is the function for all x in the domain of f of x. The process of finding the antiderivative is called antidifferentiation. So please note a function has an infinite number of antiderivatives that differ by a constant. So we represent that by adding plus c when finding the general antiderivative of a function. So let's just start off right away. So a lot of this is kind of guess and check until you start to remember the rules, just like it is with derivatives when we started them. So if we want to find the antiderivative of cosine of x, what we want to do is think, well, what function's derivative was cosine of x? And the answer is sine of x. So we know that big f of x is equal to sine of x plus some constant c. And that is your antiderivative, sine of x plus c. And you can think of that because if you come over here and we look at, let's let f of x equal sine of x plus 4. Well, if I were to take the derivative of this, the derivative of cosine f prime of x, or the derivative of sine f prime of x is just going to be cosine of x. And then this constant term could literally be anything. When we take the derivative, it disappears. So that's why we got to add this plus c over here. So let's look at example 2. So it says find the antiderivative of f of x is equal to 3. So what's the antiderivative of just a single constant? We got to think, what would the derivative of something that's a constant have been? No, that doesn't work at all. So what would the derivative of a function, what resulting answer would be a constant? The derivative of what function would be a constant? There we go. So the derivative of what function would be a constant, we'll just throw a variable on it. So 3x plus c is our antiderivative right here. Because we know if I take the derivative of this, so f, big F prime of x is equal to 3. And last but not least, if I have x, what function's derivative would be equal to x? Well, it's 1/2 x squared. Because remember, you bring down the 2 and multiply 2 by 1/2, it just becomes x by itself. Subtract 1 from 2. Using power rule, so our antiderivative big F of x is 1/2 x squared plus c. Sadly, in every single one of these problems, if you forget the c and it's asking for a general antiderivative, I will take off points. Do not forget the c. And I'm writing it. And you can see that my handwriting is absolutely no better. It's great.